Howdy folks, Sapper here, aka Sean, and welcome to another Next War World War III video, and this will be turn 6, part 3. I have just completed what phase am I in? I am in the basic movement and combat phase, and I am in the reaction movement phase. I've just completed reaction movement, so basically that is the Allies movement. So we'll start here at the naval display, and I'll kind of go over what I have done. We have moved. There was an Allied AMPH that was in the South China Sea. I moved them into the Philippines because they have a Strike 1 marker, and there is a port here. So at one point in time, many years ago, this used to be a U.S. port. Or this port probably in particular did not, but we did have a naval base. The U.S. had a naval base in the Philippines, so we have since moved out. I'm sure that we still have really good relations with the Philippines, so I'm going to allow this AMPH to go to the Philippines and get some repairs done. Because of the large naval surface combat that happened here and the exiting of the carrier battle group and the exiting of some of the Chinese naval power that they had here, the Allies have moved in. They've started to move in. So this carrier battle group here, this is the one that was involved in the combat. You can see the Strike 2 markers on there. I read the rules further, and I think originally I retreated them to here, but the rules say that you can retreat them to a friendly port. So actually, you know what? I should have moved them to the Philippines. I moved them to Japan. But what would have made probably more sense, let me go ahead and do that. I'll move them to, they went to the Philippines, and that was before the movement phase. That was during the combat phase that they took the strike markers and then retreated. So they'll go to the Philippines naval base, and then we'll be able to start slowly repairing them. So anyway, there was the carrier battle group that was in the South China Sea. They successfully moved into the Taiwan Straits. We had the carrier battle group that was in the East China Sea. I kind of wanted to leave them in the East China Sea so that they could have a little bit of an effect on Korea, but things are getting pretty tense here. And I figure if we can cripple the Chinese Navy, we can really start affecting what's going on in Taiwan. So I moved this carrier battle group into here, and the Japanese SAG, they moved into the Taiwan Straits. And I believe this was the Australian SAG. It's a Commonwealth. In fact, it even says UK on the back, but I'm saying that because Australia has gotten involved, they moved from the central approach to here, so this is an Australian SAG. So that's pretty much. Oh, and that, I almost forgot too. We had that U.S. AMPH that's got I think it's the 7th Marines. No, that's the 10th MU. Let's look. Yeah, that's the 7th Marines. So with the 7th Marines on board, they're heading. They can still, if they want, this gives them the option to go to Korea. But I think these guys are, at the moment, the idea is to get them into Taiwan. So that is it for the naval display. So now we'll go over to Taiwan. All right, let's do that. So basically, we've moved units around. We repositioned the 6th Corps, started bolstering this line right here, and there might be an attack on the Chinese units that have occupied the air base there. And then over here in Taichung, we've basically just shuffled units around. We've gotten reduced units. We've pulled reduced units back so that they are eligible to receive replacements. And then I've moved fresh units onto the line. And we'll kind of see what's going on here. So there was an infantry unit here. I moved him up to join the fight. And then also I had a couple of units down here around Tainan that I moved. This is one of them. There was a 10th Corps unit, which are the yellow guys, that was in the plastics plant, And I moved him up here, and then the 6th Corps, or that's the 8th Corps. The 8th Corps unit took his place. And you know what else I need to do? Is I have these 2 SAGs. Yeah, I want to get them. I most definitely want to get them. I don't think, actually I don't think there's really much they can do. They don't have the range to do any kind of, because I can't move them. This is the thing, you can't move them into a hex like this because there's land here. Well, actually, you know what, I think you can. I need to look at that. I'm not sure, I'm uncertain as to whether or not you can move a naval unit into a hex that has land in it. I think they might have to stage out there. But what I think I will do is these 2 guys will move. They're going to be in this hex here. So we'll do this. And then, where's a die? Let me roll for detection because they moved. So that is high enough that, let me look over here on the chart. So an 8 is definitely not detected, but are there enough modifiers to get it down to a 4? Okay, the Chinese have AWACS advantage, which I believe is a -1. Let me look. It's a -2. I think we can get it down to area detected because the AWACS advantage is a -2, and then we have other naval units here, which also give it negative modifiers. So we will say that both of these units are area detected. Although it's really not, well, I take that back. I was going to say it's not going to matter because there's only 1 combat segment left, but you can still do naval surface combat, and anybody can initiate it. It doesn't have to be your turn. So the Chinese could initiate naval surface combat, and on the hex map, as long as they are within 10 hexes of each other, and there is no land in the way. So for example, if this island was only 9 hex, or let's say the island was only 5 hexes wide, if there was a ship here on this side of the island and a ship on the other side of the island, but they were within 10 hexes, they wouldn't be able to engage in combat because there's not technically, it's not line of sight, but it's line of sight. Because each hex is 7.5 miles, so after 2 hexes, they would be past the horizon, but they're still considered for line of sight purposes, they're still considered line of sight. Did I confuse you? Probably. All right, so that's it anyway for Taiwan. We'll go to Korea. So let's see here. Let's see who we can see. So we move these guys. They were here. They're not out of supply yet because we haven't done the supply phase. So I'd move them back to here. The intent is hopefully to get them over the mountains and onto the road and then get them out of there. It's just basically to try to preserve them. And they'll have a little bit better, they'll be able to defend themselves better in the Highland Woods than they would have been in the rough. We repositioned some units here in Seoul. Let's see if we can... We just shuffled some units around in Seoul. We got, so this guy here, and I think it was that one. Yep, these two units were here in, what is the name of that city? Uijeongbu? I think it's Uijeongbu. So these 2 guys are the ones that were taking the beating in Uijeongbu, so I moved them out. Hopefully we'll be able to use some replacements. I don't even know if I have enough replacements to replace. That's a mechanized division. To give replacements to a mechanized division is going to be very costly. But it looks like, yeah, the South Koreans have 2 replacements that they have not used. I'll have to look on the chart to see how. I know it's going to take more than 2 to give replacements to a mechanized division, but we'll see what we can do. So anyway, we got some Marines in there. 3rd Marines moved up, and then there's some other Korean units underneath here that I'm not going to pull them off the stack. And then I had the 101st. They were in what is that? Pyeongtaek, which is basically Camp Humphreys. They had landed there. I moved them here. And the thought process behind that is I see these guys creeping. They could easily move around here and try to capture either that airfield or that air base. I got this X just because it's a crossroads of a highway. So that's basically the Allied movement, just some shuffling of some units around. Not any really big moves, but this was an anticipatory move. I'd rather get the 101st somewhere else because they're a really good unit, but we don't really know what the North Koreans are going to do yet, what their plans are, especially with these guys right here. And then lastly, let's go over to Vietnam. This was a hard one. I had a hard time deciding what to do with guys here. So we had these guys. This stack here was in the city of Tu Yen Quang. I think Robert posted on there, posted in the comments section of the previous video the pronunciation of that. I was doing the CH, but I believe it's like the traditional American Q. So I think that's Tu Yen Quang. They were there, so I moved them. I could only get them here, so that was disappointing. I wanted to get them farther away, but that's about as far as they could make it. Because number one, they had to cross a river. There was no road, and then they were in Zox and all that kind of stuff. So that actually, you know what? That might be. Come here. So that was +1 for the river, +1 for flat, +1 for a Zox. So that's as far as you can go. Do I leave them? It might be better just to leave them in the city, just to gum up the works for the Chinese. Yeah, that's as far as they can make it. I think I will, unfortunately. I think I will do that. I didn't take into account the Zox giving another +1, which kind of sucks. I had 2 units here in Phu Tho, and I moved one out because that's jungle. Leg infantry is defense is doubled. Basically, again, it's just to slow the Chinese down. If they think that, I mean, they can go around, but the Zoc will stop them temporarily. So there's that. And I think that's really all the movement. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do here, because it's like, okay, trying to anticipate what the Chinese are going to do. The PLA, People's Liberation Army. I probably should start calling them the PLA rather than the Chinese, or the PRC. But yeah, trying to anticipate what the PLA is going to do is kind of tough. So then we have like this unit here. I decided to leave them here. Yeah, could I have withdrawn one, or withdrawn? Well, I could have withdrawn to here. You know, again, it's an infantry unit. Defense is doubled in jungle, but this is a major crossroad. Look at all the roads right there. So they're going to try to hold that crossroad. That's kind of why I left them there. So anyway, it's very, very interesting and tough decisions about, okay, do I hold this piece of terrain, or do I pull back and try to consolidate with the bulk of the forces? That's tough decisions to make. So anyway, that is the movement phase. Now we have to do the reaction combat. So what kind of attacks are the Allies going to make? You know, again, these are defensive battles, right? The Allies don't do a lot of counterattacking. It's more of like, okay, let's just hold what we got and defend. So not quite as fun for an Allied player if you were playing opposed, like who plays the Allies. You're not going to really be attacking is always the fun thing, right? Like, hey, attack, attack, attack. Not very much attacking going on for the Allies, but we will see what happens. So I'll be back with you guys in a little bit with what I'm going to do as far as attacks go. All right, everybody. So combat in Taiwan. This will be the Allies combat. I've identified 2 spots. One of them is definitely going to happen. The other one is not going to happen. So if you look right here, this is our spot right here. We want this. And these guys are under a clearing marker, so they haven't taken that air base, but we want that spot back. And the Chinese gave us the opportunity, right? They kind of held back, which may or may not have been a mistake. We will find out at the conclusion of this combat. So we have the 73rd Group Army, 2 brigades in there. Looks like the 86th and the 145th Brigade mechanized infantry squaring off against all that right there. I'm not even going to name off each one of those because it's a lot. And they're just little infantry brigades, but we will see what happens. So it looks like it's going to be 21-9. Which is 2-1. Unfortunately for the Chinese, or for the PLA, let's go with the People's Liberation Army. Unfortunately for the People's Liberation Army, they are out of range of protection of their headquarters. And let me double check. Yeah, that's an airborne headquarters. Ooh, you know what? No, he's been used up anyway. So yeah, let me go ahead and, because all his capabilities are gone anyway, so he can't support. And then there's the 73rd Group Army headquarters and rocket artillery brigade, which are, well, the headquarters is within range because it has a range of 5, but they have been used up. And the artillery does not have the range to reach, so those guys are on their own. And also the PLA has no air support. They've used all their air support for the rest of this turn. So we have, what, 2-1. They do have the efficiency rating, or the efficiency rating bonus that is better. So I guess we will use, we'll use this guy as the lead unit. And I don't know who is 3-3. We'll use this guy as the lead unit. So those are our lead units. So it'll be a -1 column shift, which will bump us down. It'll bump the Allies down to the 1.5-1 column on flat terrain. If you look over here, these are all of our die roll modifiers. So they have a remainder. They're attacking from 3 or 4 hexes. The Chinese are in an installation and town, so they get those. Basically, these 4 things will offset. But they threw in close air support. So, and you can tell these are... The Allies are kind of scraping the bottom too as far as air support goes because those guys are reduced units. It is local detection because there is not a headquarters within 2. Although, I think it has to be an installation. That is an airfield, so that doesn't count as an installation. I didn't look at that, but that's within 2. If that was an installation, I think we would still get the bonus. But so we rolled on local. Of course, they were not detected because local values are pretty low. So it looks like we are going to have a -3 DRM on the 1.5-1 column in flat. So let's roll. And that is a 3. So it looks like each side takes a loss, and the defender has to retreat. So we will take our step loss right there, and then these guys will take a step loss. And now they have to retreat. And they have to retreat 2 hexes. So we will go ahead and do that. I think we'll go to there. So there we go. That clearing marker goes bye-bye. Let's see what it was. Well, that was a pretty decent one. So let's do this. Well, that's a town or a city. We'll hold that. And then we will advance after combat. Well, we can get 4 stacking points in there. So let's just do... That is the one good thing about these guys. They might not be powerful, but you can get... They're only 1 stacking point, so you can get a ton of them in a hex. You can get 4 of them in there without overstacking. Now, if their headquarters if their headquarters was a division headquarters instead of a corps headquarters, we could stack as many, what is this, 6th Corps units as we wanted in there. But unfortunately, that is a corps headquarters, or it's considered a corps, so we cannot do that. So that takes care of that combat. The other combat that I was thinking about doing, obviously, was this trying to get back to this port right here. But when it all come down to it, it looks like it's 1.5 to 1 odds. Oh, you know what? I didn't even take into consideration that these guys are half strength because they're attacking across the river. So yeah, the odds were like 1.5 to 1 before I just now realized that we are attacking across a minor river, except these guys. These weren't. But these guys would be halved, so that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 instead of 6 instead of 11. So it would be 16 to 13. It'd be 1 to 1 odds attacking into that. Just not good. And I don't have any air support left that I can really commit to it. And the Chinese have headquarters. Well, that artillery can't support because this hex is overstacked. Ooh, you know what? All these things that I'm finding out. Overstacked. I think that reduces your efficiency rating. Well, it does reduce your efficiency rating. But only 4 SPs of units can attack or defend. Alright, it just reduces your efficiency rating. So it's still not good enough. Honestly, it's not good enough. So the Republic of China, aka Taiwan, is not going to attack that hex as much as they want to, but they're definitely getting units into Taichung and making it. The longer the Chinese wait, the worse it's going to get as time goes by, and it's getting pretty bad right now. They got the ports that they wanted, but the chances of them actually getting Taichung are growing less and less with each passing turn. So that takes care of Taiwan. Now I have to go over to Korea and decide who's going to attack there, and then we will move on to Vietnam. Vietnam will be pretty easy. I think there's only a couple places that, or without me looking at the map right now, there's only a couple of places that Vietnam, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, would consider attacking, but I don't think they have the odds. So there's probably not going to be any combat in Vietnam, but Korea, definitely a good chance. So let me go look at that. Alrighty, folks. So I've looked at it. I think there's really only one place that I want to attack, that the Allies want to attack in Korea. I thought about attacking this hex here, but the fact that it's Highland really makes it difficult. I really want that hex. I want it back, but I think I'm going to hold off for now. So I decided to go for this one here. We're going to attack from here, here, and here. And these guys, they were, I forgot to leave that marker on there. They were hit by chemical weapons last during the, when the Koreans attacked. So basically it just reduces your efficiency rating by 3 for all the units there. Really not that big of a deal because I can do the lead unit. It's going to be the 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines is going to be the lead unit. So honestly, not that big of a deal there as far as if it reduced attack and defense and all that, then it would be a different story. I might have had to withdraw that attack or not do it. But no big deal. So we're attacking here, and then if you look, that's marsh. So that's definitely not good for the defenders. Mechanized infantry and armor are halved, attacking into that hex, so it's a couple of units. I know it's both of these. They were halved, but it ended up being with headquarters added into it. It's 32 to 19 or 1.5 to 1. So the Marines threw in this headquarters, and then I believe it's one of these two. It's either the 7th Corps or 1st Armor, which is underneath the stack over here. They threw that headquarters into support, and then the North Koreans. Let me rotate you to show that you helped. You lended a helping hand to the attack. So that's how we get 32 to 19, 1.5 to 1. Efficiency rating is better by 2, so that's +2 column shift. So it's the 1.5 to 1 in Marsh, but then you bump it over 2 column shifts. It ends up being the 3 to 1 column in Marsh. And then I threw in, let me see, so we get a bonus for multi-hex. We get a bonus for light infantry, Marines, and of course we got the 82nd Airborne in there too, so we get the bonus for light infantry. There was a remainder, and then we threw in some close air support. They're basically unopposed. The North Koreans have nothing that they can throw in for close air support, and they have no interceptors that they could throw up at them either, so these guys are just able to fly in there at will and do what they want. There doesn't seem to be any kind of negatives for flying close air support in storm weather. So when it's all said and done, it is -8 to the die roll, which is going to be amazing. So even if we get a 9, it's still going to be really good results. So 9 is the worst possible thing that can happen. Let's go ahead and roll it. That is a 0, so we go to the -3, which is the best. So it's going to be 3 step losses and a retreat for the North Koreans. So that's definitely not good. They have to retreat 2 hexes, so I'll probably go here. 1, 2, yeah, we'll go here. Much as yeah, So I will just take a step loss from each one of these. Come here. All right. They ain't going to cooperate, so we'll do that. We'll flip all of them over. None of them are 1-step units. So that, where do we go? 1, 2 right here. So we'll go there. The only reason I didn't want to make this attack is now the Allies, this is not good terrain to defend in. So I really didn't want to do that. And also, if you look here too, I mean, our flank over here is getting kind of weak. I'd much rather be able to defend with this river to my, what would that be? Southern flank, basically. I'd like to have that river between us, but unfortunately it's not going to work out that way. Now I need to figure out who I want to move in there. Whew. Because I do like this spot. No, I thought there was a city there. That's the one that I really want, but that's tough. Oh, I really don't. I reluctantly will move those guys in there. I really don't want to move them in there. It would have been nice had we been able to take out some North Korean units to get some victory points. Maybe we can swing the momentum in the Allies' favor by getting an initiative turn for the Allies. That would be awesome. If the Allies could get an initiative turn, that would really help a lot. But we'll take what we can get. Let's see. Yeah, this is a spot that I really have had my eye on for a while, but I think I'll hold off against my better judgment. And I think that will be it for the North Koreans. I'll go briefly look at, well, actually, let's do this together. Are there any places that I would like to attack in Vietnam? Well, nothing presents itself here. Nothing presents itself here. Let's see here. That's obviously not going to present itself as a very smart place to attack. And then the only other place is Haiphong. And these guys, honestly, let me see, what do we got? These are, yeah, 1 attack strength units. Yep, that's not going to work. So there is nothing in Vietnam. I think the Vietnamese, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, is not going to attack. It's just, there's nothing really beneficial to them. But they have to play the defensive game, and unfortunately, until they can get some more units on the board. More units in the theater, however you want to call it. So I think what we're going to do now is it's going to go to, what do we got? We just did the reaction combat, so that's done. We'll put you back up here. Isolation and surrender. So we will look. I think we do have that one situation in Korea that is going to possibly be isolation and surrender. I'll look at that and then kind of do a summary once I get done doing reorg and reinforcements and all that kind of stuff for all three theaters. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. We have got possible naval surface combat. Well, I'll be back and I'll figure out if there's going to be any naval surface combat. All right, I've just conducted the naval surface combat, so there wasn't too many big changes that happened here in the Taiwan Straits. A lot of missiles were thrown back and forth, and not really much happened. So this Los Angeles class submarine, they were here, and their survival check didn't go well, so they ended up taking a strike 2, so they retreated back to this port in the Philippines. Let's see, U.S. carrier battle group took a strike. They decided to remain in place. None of the other Allied ships took any hits, and it looks like the Allies were able to hit this SAG that was here, give it a strike 2. They wisely decided to go back to port. So we have basically evicted most of the ships out of the Taiwan Straits. We got the AMPs in there, so they'll probably eventually be leaving because they don't want to get sunk by the other ships. And then we had the one little skirmish here in the Spratlys. That light's going to be right in the right spot. There we go. So we got the skirmish here in the Spratlys. So these subs were here. This Virginia-class submarine, I think, was able to cause a strike on the Malaysian SAG. The plan, People's Liberation Army Navy, they tried to attack the Filipino SAG, received a strike 2 marker. They will go ahead and retreat back to the People's Republic of China holding box, so I'll go ahead and do that. So there's a lot of naval units that need to get repaired. And then, of course, the Filipino SAG was successful in not being hit. I think that is a strike marker from a previous turn. So the Malaysian SAG went back home, the PRC sub went back home, and now the Spratlys, at least as far as naval goes, are it's still contested. We have to roll for that, but there's no naval units in the Spratly Islands sea area that belong to China or its allies. And then, of course, the Straits of Taiwan are going to be the next, big conflict. It's still a conflict. It's not going to be the next conflict. It's going to be a continuing conflict. But the Allies have gained a major foothold in there. They have 2 carrier battle groups, a Japanese surface action group, an Australian surface action group, and all these guys have left in there are the AMPs. So China is starting to lose its grip. So we'll see what happens in future turns. So I'm in the isolation surrender phase. I have 2 situations where this exists, or possibly. So this was the first possible location of isolation. So you have to be able to trace to a supply source or supreme headquarters, and it says of any length. So this unit has a ZOC which blocks this hex. This unit is only a 1-step unit, so his ZOC is only the hex that he's in. So if this was a 2-step unit, I would have a ZOC right here, and so it would effectively cut this unit off. But because I can trace supply, even though I'm not, the unit will be out of supply for supply purposes, but it will not be isolated. So this is the one situation where that applies here. And then over in Vietnam, we do have an isolation situation. which is right here. So 2 stacking points, 2 stacking points. Actually, they don't count because the river blocks the Zoc, but this guy projects his Zoc to here. So this guy is surrounded, therefore he is isolated. So you check for surrender before you place isolation markers. So next turn, if he is still there, then we will be able to check for isolation. Most likely he'll end up being eliminated because these guys will probably just attack. Yeah, isolation seems like a very rare circumstance where it just takes time, right? It's going to take you a couple of turns to get that guy to surrender. But that's it. So now we're going to go to reorganization and reinforcements and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to take a little while. Removing counters, rotating headquarters and helicopters back, putting all units back in the flown box, all that stuff. So I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so I've just conducted clearing operations. There was a clearing marker here, and after looking at the rules, I removed the clearing marker because the only way you can be under a clearing marker is if you are the sole occupier of the island area. So right now it's contested because we have Philippines and Malaysian troops here, so no clearing operations are going to go on. That might have made a difference as far as maybe the Malaysians would have attacked, but they defended normally when the Philippines did attack them, so I'll kind of just leave it at that. And then the only other clearing operations that we had was in Vietnam. So we had this stack here, so PRC has captured that. Now they only got VPs for the city, not for the installation, because the installation was destroyed. You only get the VPs for it once. So we captured a destroyed installation. So you don't get extra VPs for capturing a destroyed installation. Uong B or Uong Bai captured that. That's just a city hex there north of Haiphong. No installations or anything like that. And then, of course, these guys here, the 160th and 179th Brigade have been in Ha Long. They were under a clearing marker last turn, couldn't clear it this turn either. So those guys are kind of stuck there. So 2 clearing operations were successful, 1 was not successful. So moving right along. All right, so I've just pulled out reinforcements for both sides. China gets none on turn 6, so that's definitely not good, but there's plenty of units waiting in the holding box for them to pull over. So it's just a matter of getting them from China to Taiwan. So what they currently have is definitely plenty. Taiwan is getting 4 more infantry units, and then those planes, I'll decide they may or may not go to Taiwan. Some of those may go other places. So those are the only air units for the U.S. that I drew for all theaters. So I'll determine kind of where they're going to go. I really don't think that Taiwan needs those. I think I'll probably dedicate those to Korea. So let's go over to Korea and see what we have over there. All right, so hopefully, let's see. Yeah, boy, I tell you, man, an overcast day is not good because then you have to really compete with the glare because I have to have the lights on. So North Korea is getting all this. It looks like a core, a couple special forces. Now I pulled those from the eliminated because I used the counter mix as the absolute limit. So these guys were eliminated. So basically, if there are no special forces units in the eliminated box, and I have used all the special forces available, and it calls for reinforcements, and they just don't get that. It looks like these are the North Korean reserves. We're getting 1st Corps headquarters. We're getting the rest of the 101st. We're getting 4th Marines. I think that's the rest of them. Yeah, I see 1-4 already on the map. So we're getting the rest of the 4th Marines. Getting a special forces unit. And then we're getting CDC Corps, 11th Corps and 9th Corps headquarters, and some units, some armored or mechanized infantry divisions to bolster up what we've got, because it's looking really thin in Seoul right now, so this will definitely be helpful. And then lastly, over here, in Vietnam, we're getting some PSDF units, which really the thing for those guys, nope, not that one. They're just, that's for the clearing. I guess you can flip them. I'll have to look more about the rules for these, but they do affect the clearing. But so basically, they don't really have any attack, but they really bolster up the defenses of a unit that's already there. So, like, if you get one of these guys in the jungle, then along with another infantry unit, it's going to be very hard to bust through those lines. And then China is getting the 81st Group Army in its entirety, so, and a special forces group, or whatever the Chinese call their special forces units. We call them special forces groups. So they're getting that. So that is that. And then of course I got some replacement points and all that. I'll figure out where those go. But that'll be pretty much wrap up turn 6, turn 4, and turn 2. All right, everybody. So it is the next day in real life. So I quit playing yesterday, and now we're going to continue. We have moved past the reinforcement replacement phase. I've done all that. I've consolidated a few air units. I have reinforced some units in Taiwan, a few units in Korea. Didn't really have much to do in Vietnam because there's not a lot of reduced units or whatever. So now you can basically see now I have rolled for weather, so it's clear weather everywhere, so that's definitely good for North Korea. And then I just wanted to kind of give you a look at the victory points. So we're sitting at 46 for China in Taiwan, and we're sitting at 37 for the Republic of Korea or Taiwan. And then over here in Korea, we're sitting at 28 for the Allies, and we're sitting at 76. Can you see that? Yep, you can see that. We're sitting at 76 for the North Koreans. They've really been kicking butt. And then, of course, in Vietnam, it's not going to be not a very big, well, it's 33 points for the Chinese, and I think it is, it looks like Vietnam has scored 0 points. So China's kind of running away at the moment. So it looks like we might have to get some more Allied units there in Vietnam. But that was, that was kind of all part of China's plan, right? Was to get everybody distracted so that they could invade Vietnam a lot easier. So anyway, what I'm getting ready to do is I'm getting ready to roll for the UN resolution. So each turn I will increase the die roll modifier by 1, because now we have been at war in Taiwan for 3 weeks. So every turn is 3.5 days. So every 2 turns obviously is a week. So we have just finished up 6 turns. So that is 3 weeks. So the war's been raging in Taiwan for 3 weeks. North Korea North Korea has been going on for 2 weeks, and then a week in Vietnam. So let me grab my die roller here. So you have to roll higher than a 10. So we're +2 to the die roll. So there is no UN resolution. The UN has decided that we're going to let these guys fight it out for a little while longer. So now what we'll do is we have to do random events. So I'll go ahead and roll those up and then kind of get back with you and let you know what happened with the random events. Okay, so I've made the random event rolls. You can see them right here. So China rolled an 89, which is a 5th column. Boy, I get that one a lot. Each player, or excuse me, enemy player may immediately conduct one SOF mission with a -2 DRM. So let's decide, can we do a raid? We can do a raid. You can do a detection or a recon mission. I don't know if I really want to do a recon mission. There's nothing that can be targeted yet. So basically it's either going to be a raid or it is going, well, we could do an interdiction, but I really don't think that that we need to do an interdiction. So what I think we'll do is we will, can you see that? Yeah, this Apache helicopter, I think we'll try to do a raid on that. So I'll go ahead and move my camera back. So we'll try that. We get a -2 to the die roll. So that is a helo in, I think those guys are considered flat down there on the coast. So that is a helo in flat with a -2 to the die roll. I need a 3 or lower normally, so it will be a 5 or lower. So that is a 3. That's a strike 1, which doesn't really matter because you can't put strikes on helicopters or aircraft, so that is a step loss. So we have just reduced that helicopter. Now it doesn't say in the 5th column if where are we? Oh, no SOF marker needed, so I don't have to roll for survivability or anything like that. That was where I was getting ready to go with that. All right, so Taiwan rolled a 17. 17 is enemy fuel shortage. Place an out of supply marker on an enemy motorized or mechanized unit. This may not be removed. So who do I want to be? It's got to be motorized or mechanized. Where are my supply markers? Here we go. So, well, let's go ahead and stymie. We'll go ahead and mess up these guys right here. So, I'll just do this. I'll put you there. And the reason I'm moving him to the bottom is because a lot of times what I'll do is if they're, rather than put an out of supply marker on every single unit in a stack, I'll put one just on the top and everybody underneath is considered out of supply. But I don't, that's why I'm doing it that way. So that way I know it's just him that is out of supply. All right, we'll go ahead and erase that. So that takes care of Taiwan. Let's see here. We have over here in Korea. There we go. Stupid lights. All right, so what did we get? A 54 for North Korea. Tightly packed. Choose one friendly ground unit from a future turn and place it in this turn's reinforcements phase or repair one step for any one air or helicopter unit. Boy, that could... Can we repair a helicopter? Yes, we can repair a helicopter. I think I will do that. Rather than try to figure out what units that I want to bring forward or whatever. That's, what does it say? It says one unit. One friendly ground unit from a future turn. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. That requires me to do a lot of way ahead planning. One thing that I think, like, so I don't take my reinforcements from future turns and place them on the game information display. You know, I keep them all set aside and then grab them as need be. So if I kept all my future reinforcements on the game information display, it might help out with that, but that display gets crowded enough as it is. So we've got this guy here. I think I will go ahead and flip him. Unfortunately, he's not a 2-step or a 2 attack power strike value, but whatever. At least he's not as in danger as much of being destroyed. So South Korea got a 14. Sleeper Cell, immediately conduct one SOF mission with a -2 DRM. Wow. Okay. So we get to do the same thing. It's like the 5th column. I think what we will do, because this has worked, and it is no longer a storm turn here in Korea, I think what we want to do is let's try to hit this guy again, because we've had a lot of success. And North Korea is starting to gain quite a bit of momentum now. So I think a lot of these guys that you see over here that are out of supply will probably not be out of supply. So we want to do a recon mission, and it is at -2. So that is that's Highland. That's a supply depot in Highland. So let's go ahead. Can we see that guy right there? Yes, we can. -2. So that is a 1 that is definitely detected. I could have done that even without the DRM. All right, get ready to send in the B-52 bombers. The North Koreans know that's coming. All right, so that takes care of the random events for the Korean theater. And now we will go to Vietnam. So we got a 31 and a 98. All right, so the the Chinese got a 31. That is a successful cyber attack. Reduce enemy SAM or detection track marker by 1. I think what we will do, let me see. So the detection track for Vietnam is 5. The SAM track is 4. I think we'll reduce the detection track to a 4. Oh, where's a marker? Here we go. So we just reduced the detection track. Let me go over to the actual track and reduce it. All right, so that's done. And now the Vietnamese rolled a 98. Civil unrest. Place an interdiction strike marker 1 in any hex. Well, that will actually help. All right, so let's see. So we've got a ton of reinforcements coming in up here. We've already got one here, but they can still use this little back road right here. So I think if I put an interdiction marker right there, that should be sufficient. So we'll do that. That'll make it harder for these guys to get down here, and that, well, supply may be an issue, but they can still trace it from over here. I don't know if it'll reach. I'll have to look. So let's see. Can you see that? No, can't see that. So trying to get supply over here. Let's see if we can do that. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, so those guys are still going to be in supply. I wonder if I put this interdiction marker here, if that would do it. What would happen to these guys? So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's basically so by interdicting here, I'm just going to slow these guys down. These guys will still be in supply. So if we look here, I think the headquarters, yep, so the headquarters is here, so they'll still be able to move supply down to here. So let me see, what can they do? I think they extend the supply another 4, so that's half, 1.5, 2.5, 3. Oh. Or we can do, we need to get through here, so that's 1. That's 2, because we have to bypass the clearing marker, so you use the underlying terrain. So it's only 1 movement point in flat. So that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're good. So really, there's not much we can do. We're just slowing these forces down rather than limiting supply. So there you have it. That is the random events for Vietnam. So I will be back in a bit after we figure out what's going on next. All right, I don't remember if I covered it, but I did do the UN resolution die roll, and I think, as a matter of fact, I think I did. So the UN's not going to intervene, but I did roll to see if the conflict has been escalated any farther. So obviously all these actors are at highest intervention level. Canada, Japan, and Australia are at 3, but France has decided to join the fray, and Germany as well. So let me see if I can remember what's what. So level 1, I think, is supplies, intel, and special forces, and then level 2 is naval and air. So France is going to throw in their naval and air assets. Those will come in at for the reinforcements for the end of the turn. So we're not going to see France yet, but France has got some aircraft and carriers. They'll probably send those to the South Pacific in Vietnam. And then Germany is just basically what we're going to get off of Germany is, I don't know if Germany has SOF, but we'll get another detection attempt for the electronic detection, which we can, as far as the Allies go, they pretty much detect everything anyway. But there you have it. So the detection attempt that they offer, I will get that now, because that's, you don't have to mobilize detection assets, right? You can just use satellites and pre-existing things that are already out there. But as far as, aircraft carriers and airplanes, yeah, they have to be repositioned. Everybody is a contested turn now. Nobody was able to score enough victory points to gain an initiative. So again, everybody is contested, and basically now we're going to move on to the electronic detection phase. So I'll be back in a bit with the results of that. Alright, so Germany does have special forces. So I got 4 special forces markers for Germany, and I have 2 for France. So the French ones are going to go to French Indochina or Vietnam. And then I think I will do the German ones. I think 2 of them will go to, man, there's a lot in South Korea. I think Germany will send 1 to Korea, and the other 3 are going to go to Taiwan. Which, is that realistic? I don't know. Could you honestly see Germany getting involved in Taiwan? Who knows? I mean, the world's a crazy place right now, so I guess anything could happen. But that's the way I'm going to divide it up. And also, I did dig out so many counters, so many different things. So from the supplement, I think I found some UK subs that could possibly get in the mix. This is the German and French mix. So in all reality, what I'll probably end up doing is when we have reinforcements come in. Well, these reinforcements aren't going to come in for Germany, right? Because they are only at intervention level 1. But intervention level 2 is naval and air, so I can get the air units. Is France going to send its 1 aircraft carrier into the Pacific? That's a tough one, right? That's a tough call. I'll decide then. But if ground forces get involved, the most realistic ground forces to get involved would not be like this armor unit. I could easily see this mountain infantry and Marines going, and the same could be said for Germany, right? Like these mechanized units, I don't see Germany mobilizing mechanized units to go fight in the Pacific, but that mountain infantry, most definitely, and of course these airborne units, yes, Germany will definitely contribute those. So, but again, Germany's still at intervention level 1, so we don't have to worry about this stuff yet. I could see him sending a sub over there, maybe, possibly. Who knows? Like I said, world is a crazy place right now, so honestly, anything could happen. But now, and of course this is a hypothetical game anyway, right? So we might as well just get crazy with it. Electronic detection. I'll be back in a bit with the electronic detection results. All right, folks, so there is no first Special Operation Forces phase for anybody because everybody is in a contested phase. So I have gone ahead and we are getting ready to start the Air Naval Phase. So I've kind of lined up all the air superiority units. You see that little orange cube there? That means all these U.S. or all these Allied units came from Japan. So it's kind of important, right? You need to keep an eye track of where units or air units come from because these planes only have a range of 1. So if we look over here, so here's Japan, so they can fly so a medium range plane can only go 1, right? So if you're based in Japan, you can only fly missions to Korea unless you're long range. So you have to have a range. Long range is 2, so we can go 1, 2. So any long range planes can go to Taiwan. So let's just double check ourselves here and make sure. So this is Taiwan. Make sure they're all L's. These planes all have L's up in the upper right corner. So that means they're long range, so they can reach Taiwan. All these have M's, so they can reach Korea. So that's kind of why I do that. So it matters. I have to have a way of keeping track of where they came from so I know what box to put them back in. And rebasing too, right? So when you rebase a plane, let's say I want this guy to be based in Korea. You do that in the reorg phase, they go to the flown box. So if you're not paying attention, I'll end up putting these units here in the wrong box, and then they could fly missions that they had not properly rebased for. So anyway, this is what we got going on here. Korea threw everything up in the air because they're slowly losing the edge anyway. So this might, they're going to lose a lot of these planes. I just have a feeling they're going to lose a lot of them, but they're trying to hold on to the edge that they have, right? They're trying to advance farther south. So by the looks of it, the farthest unit south is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 75 miles from the DMZ. So the North Koreans have pushed at the max along the front. They've pushed 75 miles south, and they want to maintain that. So they're starting to get desperate. The Chinese are also kind of getting desperate. We can see a lot of Allied dual engagements right here. So here and here and here. And further kind of emphasize this, if we look over here, well, let's see where that glare is. All right. So I got to kind of hold the camera funky because of the glare. So there's only 3 units in the air superiority box for Vietnam, but there's no Chinese units. These Malaysian units only have a range of 1, so if they're based here, they can only get to the Spratly box. So there you have it. So I will be back when I have the results of the air naval phase. All right, the air superiority phase is over. We'll go into the naval phase next. I'll probably start a whole new part after this, just because this is probably getting long. But you can see there are no planes for China in the air superiority box. They lost 2, so I'll have to adjust the victory points for that. Allies definitely have the advantage. no question. And then here in Korea, the North Koreans put up a fight. You see a lot of units here in the aborted box, but they lost 3 planes. The Allies lost 2, and it is, I think it is 1.5 to 1. So if you look over here, let's see, you can see it without the glare here. So the AWACS advantage for, this is for Taiwan. So the AWACS advantage is in Taiwan's favor. Or no, actually, which one is which? This is Korea. This is Taiwan. Taiwan has no AWACS advantage. Korea, the Allies have a 2. And then if we look over here, the Vietnamese have air superiority, and the AWACS advantage bumped down. China still has it, but it bumped down, I think, 1. So it was here, and it moved down to here. So there you have it. You have these three unopposed. So the it looks like the non-allied side is definitely losing. They were able to, the North Koreans put up a decent fight. They lost a lot of planes in the process. I mean, well, they only lost 3. It was almost even as far as losses go. But they have a lot sitting in the aborted box. So do the Chinese. So if you look over here, only 2 were aborted, and only 2 were aborted. So there you have it, folks. Air superiority has been figured out. We'll go ahead and end this part and start a new part after this.